If you ever hear your own name whispered from calm water when no one else is around, do not answer, because the lake is not calling you, it is hunting you. And this is the true story of what happened at Blackmere Lake, a place so quiet that even birds refused to sing near its shore. A place where the water sat still like glass, even on the windiest nights, and where 7 people had vanished over the last 20 years, each one last seen, walking toward the water with a strange smile on their face, as if they had heard someone they loved calling them home. Ethan had heard the stories his whole life, but he never believed them, not until the summer he turned 22 and decided to go camping alone at Blackmere with his tent, his flashlight, and his old dog buddy, because he needed silence after losing his job, after losing his girlfriend, after losing almost everything that made him feel like himself. He arrived just before sunset, and the lake looked beautiful, almost too beautiful. The water was a deep, dark blue reflecting the orange sky like a mirror that had never been touched by wind or ripple. And something about that stillness made his skin prickle, though he brushed the feeling away, telling himself it was just tiredness from the long drive. He set up his tent near the edge of the trees, close enough to see the water, far enough to feel safe, or so he thought. And as the sun disappeared behind the hills, the temperature dropped fast, faster than it should have in the middle of summer, and Buddy, who was usually calm and lazy, suddenly stood up, ears sharp, staring at the lake, growling low in his throat at absolutely nothing. Ethan laughed nervously and told him to relax, but the dog would not stop growling, not even when Ethan gave him a treat, not even when he pulled him close and scratched behind his ears the way that always calmed him down. And it was only after several minutes that Buddy finally lay down again, though his eyes stayed fixed on the water the entire night. Around midnight, Ethan woke up to a sound, soft, gentle, almost musical, like someone singing far away. And at first he thought it was another camper, maybe a radio, maybe kids messing around near the shore. But when he unzipped his tent and stepped outside, there was no one. No lights, no cars, nothing but the lake, still and dark under the moon, and the sound had stopped completely, as if it had been waiting for him to notice. He stood there for a long moment, breathing in the cold night air, and just as he turned to go back inside, he heard it again, closer this time, and clearer. A voice, soft and familiar, whispering his name. Ethan, Ethan, come here. And his heart nearly stopped because that voice sounded exactly like his mother, who had passed away 3 years earlier. The same warm, gentle tone she used to call him for dinner when he was a child. And for one terrifying second, he actually took a step toward the water before Buddy grabbed the edge of his sleeve with his teeth and pulled him back hard, snapping him out of whatever trance he had fallen into. Shaking, Ethan rushed back into the tent, zipped it shut, and sat there with his flashlight on, refusing to sleep, refusing to even blink for what felt like hours, while outside the whispering continued, sometimes his name, sometimes other names he did not recognize, a woman's name, a child's name, an old man's name, as if the lake was calling out to every single person who had ever disappeared there, trying one more voice, one more memory, hoping someone would finally answer. By sunrise, the whispering had stopped, and the lake looked as peaceful and innocent as it had the evening before. But Ethan knew he could not stay another night, so he packed up quickly, hands trembling, and as he loaded his car, he noticed something strange near the shoreline. Footprints. Small, bare footprints leading from the water up to where his tent had been, and then stopping right beside where he had been sleeping, as if something had stood there, watching him all night long, before walking back into the lake and disappearing beneath the surface. Terrified, Ethan drove straight to the nearest town and told an old shopkeeper what had happened, expecting to be laughed at. But instead, the old man's face turned pale, and he told Ethan a story that had been passed down for generations. That Blackmere Lake was once the site of an old village, hundreds of years ago, until a terrible drought forced the villagers to make a desperate and horrifying choice. They began offering their own people to the lake, believing it was cursed, believing that feeding it would bring back the rain, and one by one, they drowned their own neighbors, their own family members, whispering sweet promises to lure them into the water peacefully, telling them it was for the good of the village, and after each drowning, the rain would come, just a little, just enough to keep them believing the lake was pleased. But the lake was never satisfied, and one night, all of the drowned villagers rose together beneath the water and pulled every single person left in the village down with them. And since that night, the lake has never stopped trying to feed itself, learning voices from the memories of anyone who steps near it, calling out to strangers using the voices of people they loved and lost, patient, endless, and hungry, waiting by the shore for someone new to answer. Ethan wanted to believe it was just an old legend, a story to scare tourists, but he could not shake the memory of his mother's voice, so clear, so real, calling him toward that black water, and he could not explain the small, wet footprints that led straight to where he had been sleeping. He never went back to Blackmere Lake again, but for years afterward, on quiet nights, alone in his apartment, he would sometimes wake up certain he had heard someone whisper his name, soft and familiar, just outside his window, and he would lie completely still in the dark, refusing to move, refusing to check, because deep down he understood something that most people never truly understand until it is far too late, that some voices calling you home are not the ones you should ever answer. And if you are ever near still water at night and you hear someone you love calling your name, remember Ethan's story, remember Buddy's warning growl, and please, whatever you do, do not walk toward the water, because the lake is always listening, always waiting, and it already knows your name too. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now and subscribe for more terrifying true horror stories like this one every single week.